Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, because within the next 24 hours it is going to be turning a lot colder for all areas. We have seen 20 plus degrees once again today across large areas of England and Wales, but that is all changing as we do start to see polar maritime and Arctic air starting to return. So this warm spell we've had over the past few days is a little bit of a false flag, as we are likely to be plunged back into early spring or even late winter conditions, with frosts returning, potentially even some winteriness over some of the hills further northwards, and just a pretty cold feel. The longer range, it does continue that theme. The only positive, as I continue to say, is it is going to be high pressure dominated. High pressure is just going to be out to our west, allowing northerly and northeasterly flows. And although those northerlies could be strong at times, the majority of time we do have relatively high pressure, which means there won't be too many showers around, but it won't be bone dry either. There are some glimpses in the longer range that high pressure could settle more over the top of us, which is a very small change in the synoptic pattern, but it makes a huge difference at the surface because it would allow milder air masses to build in. As soon as we cut off that northerly or northeasterly high pressure this time of year, those temperatures will rise, and we are seeing that from some runs. And it does give us a glimmer of hope that perhaps for the final few days or final week or so of April, things could stay dry but turn warmer as well. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see it is a north-south split today. You can see across parts of the Midlands at the moment we've got some of this sort of light to moderate on and off rain, and this is a weak weather front that is dividing the milder, warm air to the south and the colder, drier air to the north. Now I say drier air, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be no precipitation. It just means that all the precipitation will be showers and there'll be plenty of sunshine in between it, and it's because the air is coming from the Arctic. As you all know, colder air, of course, carries less moisture, and that's why we generally call it drier air. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bone dry. The same as when we see a southerly wind, it can be bone dry, but very warm and humid. So, yeah, much drier but colder air mass is moving in. And you can already see it starting to spark off some pretty heavy, hefty showers across much of Scotland, with it turning to snow over the higher ground. Again, not massively unusual for this time of year, but we could see these snow levels dropping perhaps more towards low-lying areas in the coming days, as we do see some pretty potent cold air move in for a time. Now, if you do look at the temperatures this afternoon, you can still see across parts of eastern England, ahead of that cold front that is sweeping southwards, it is still warm. Temperatures got to around 20 to 21 degrees today. We'll have a look at that, those exact figures in a minute over on Net Weather. And you can see just to our south, look at it, a glimpse of summer for much of France. Of course, they're going to be seeing some of this cold air, probably not as potent as the air that's going to go through the UK. As it heads southwards, it does get moderated significantly, but you can see some real taste of summer across much of Europe at the moment, so we do have a big extension of the Azores high, which is going to get pushed away in the next 24 hours or so. Temperatures further north to west is already starting to drop away, but we'll really see the big impact tomorrow when we're all in that colder air mass. Temperatures low teens at best, and come early next week, many areas might struggle to get above the mid to high single digits. Now, if you look at those temperatures over in Net Weather, these are the max temperatures today. You see widely around that 1 to 3 p.m. point, generally around southern and eastern England, but it's quite a widespread area around that 19 to 21 degrees. So really pleasant out there, a glimpse of early summer. But unfortunately, as I said at the start of the video, it's a bit of a false flag for those temperatures dropping perhaps as much as 10 degrees in the next couple of days. So do go over to the UKV now. We start on the precipitation. If we do start on the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see through the rest of this evening, we are going to see that precipitation slowly edge southwards, really just an area of cloud with a bit of thicker, where we see thicker cloud, a bit of drizzle in there, but nothing too major. And further north, as those showers will start to die out through this evening. As we head into tomorrow, it's actually a reasonably dry day for most, but we do start to see some showers pushing in from the north and the west by the afternoon. Much cloudier further south, and that's going to hold those temperatures down as well. So we'll see in a minute the temperatures are down quite substantially on today. As we head into Monday, we can see some even colder air drifting. Look at that, quite a lot of snow over parts of northern England and Scotland over the higher ground. Not just exclusively to the tops of the mountains, even to moderate hills. We're seeing some winteriness, and again, you can't rule it out to low-lying areas within some of the really heavy bursts, growlpool, hail, sleet possible as well. As we head into Monday afternoon, pretty blustery and unsettled day with lots of showers that should die out through the evening. But again, wind coming in from north to northwesterly direction, pretty fresh indeed, as we'll see in a minute. As we head into Tuesday, another pretty fresh day. The wind does veer to more of a straight northerly with a bit more of a high pressure influence from the west, which does mean those showers will be reduced. So it's going to be a day where there's actually going to be plenty of sunshine. It's probably actually going to look pretty stunning out there, but it is going to feel pretty chilly, and there will be quite a strong wind chill out there with those northerly winds pushing in. The same could be said for Wednesday, a bit more precipitation further northwards, but still seeing this northerly wind. And again, plenty of showers pushing in. And eventually, as we head into Thursday, we see another weather front pushing in, and this is likely a bit of milder air trying to nudge in from the west. Of course, we are into the middle to second half of April now, so it's impossible to really see anything majorly cold. So whenever that northerly wind gets briefly cut off, those temperatures will nudge up, and that's likely what's going to happen during the middle to end of next week. Temperatures could nudge back towards average, but as we saw yesterday, there could be a second blast of pretty chilly, cold air as we head into the final 10 days of April. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, look at that in the south today, 10 to 11 degrees at 850 HPA. We need to take note of that to see the contrast as we head into Sunday and Monday. So around 10 or 11 at the moment, but see it's getting pushed away this evening, and -4 to -5 is getting pushed in for all, turning much colder into Sunday. Now, those temperatures do actually climb up a little bit. Which, as I said, is inevitable because of the time of year. It's impossible to sustain these very cold air masses. But you can see another blast of pretty potent air rise for Monday, and you can see we're down to -5 to -6. So about a 15, 16, or even higher 17 degree temperature drop at 850 HPA. Now, at the surface, we're unlikely to see that significant of a drop, but perhaps as much as 10 to 12 degrees at the surface. So some pretty potent cold air moving in. You can see it does, of course, get reduced quite significantly by the middle part of the week, but still some very cold air filtering in, even the -10 isotherm coming in for Scotland there. Again, that could really lower the freezing level and give some quite harsh overnight frosts, for eventually into the middle of the week, see some slightly less cold air is starting to move in from the west. But as we'll see from the long-range charts in a minute and the ensembles, it's unlikely to last all too long. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures up towards that 18 to 20 degree mark across much of southern and eastern England, but further northwards and westwards, maybe just getting into the double digits. But overnight tonight, frost developing across parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, temperatures actually in the mid to low single digits as those temperatures do start to fall away. And you see into tomorrow afternoon, we are struggling 12 to 14 degrees at best. So about a 6 to 8 degree temperature drop for tomorrow afternoon. Again, back down to just slightly below average for tomorrow afternoon's temperatures, but it's going to be quite a big change in the feel like compared to today. As we head into Monday, that cold air does embed itself further, and again, mid to high single digits at best across England and Wales overnight, freezing over across parts of Scotland. And then look at Monday afternoon, many areas struggling around that 7 to 10 degree mark. So this is where we get those sort of 10 to 12 degree temperature drops. Big drop there for Monday. It's going to feel like we are back in February with these sort of temperatures. Now to Tuesday, again, because those temperatures drop down to maybe 3 to 5 degrees at best, and by Tuesday afternoon it could rise slightly higher to maybe 13 or 14 as some slightly less cold air moves in, but still chilly, still below average. Into Wednesday, again, some colder conditions overnight. Look at that, across Scotland, widely below freezing. We see that very cold air mass moving in. And by Wednesday afternoon, look at that, again, really struggling. Even areas across parts of England and Wales, towards low-lying areas, not getting much above 5 or 6 degrees. So pretty potent indeed. And into Thursday, look at that, a pretty widespread frost. Again, this is not as high resolution as we need to see frost, but if we could get some slightly higher resolution, we would be able to see that the temperatures rurally could be pretty close to freezing, even down towards southern England there. So really cold indeed as we head into Thursday. Definitely got a high chance that you could wake up to some ice and frost through Thursday morning. But as I said, there's slightly less cold air moving from the west, which is a positive for the end of the upcoming working week. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you can see that northwesterly wind coming in over the coming days in a pretty potent northerly through the middle of the week. However, you can see the high pressure does topple slightly, and that allows some slightly less cold air to ride over the higher pressure. Now, if we put on the upper air temperatures here, you can see pretty potent cold air coming in for a time early next week. But then by Thursday into Friday, look at that, slightly milder air topples in over the high, and it could go slightly milder. But look at this, through Sunday into Monday, we see another potent air mass moving in. Uncertainty how much of that cold air comes our way. It's quite a big cold pool there, but definitely down the east coast and for northern areas looking pretty chilly indeed. Now, the one positive I'm seeing from some of these longer range charts is that we could be building that high pressure more over the top of us. By 300 hours here, we're still in chilly, cold, northerly flow below average, but if we give it another couple of days, the high pressure does start to build in with a little bit more of a southwesterly flow, which is a little bit more positive. It's more emphasised on the GM and the eastern low F runs we'll see in a minute, but it could allow those temperatures to creep up into the final days of April. But from now until then, looking pretty cold indeed, and it'll be emphasised when we look at those ensemble charts. If you continue to look at the GM, again, northwesterly wind coming in over the next few days. Pretty potent cold northerly wind there for Wednesday. Look at the upper air temperatures down towards -5 or lower for a time. And then we see some slightly less cold air moving for the weekend, and actually it looks a bit more positive. Yes, we have got cold air still to our east trying to nudge in, and it has a go again at day 10 at pushing in, but look at that, upper air temperatures up towards 5 degrees at 850 HPA are definitely an improvement back towards average or slightly above average. I must say though, if we do look at the 2 meter temperatures, they're not going to really respond all too much to those upper air temperatures. With the upper air temperatures around that 4 to 8 degree mark, we would expect to see temperatures maybe around the high teens. But if you look here, the temperature's only actually getting towards 13 to 15. And the reason is we've still got some colder air embedded at the surface as we've had loads of cold days leading up to it. And the wind's still coming in off the North Sea. Look at those temperatures across the North Sea, 7 or 8 degrees, and that sort of air is getting dragged our way. So not only is the air mass making a difference, but it's the orientation of the higher pressure. Even into sort of June time, if we see an easterly wind, it doesn't really matter what warmth we have in the air mass. It is still going to feel pretty chilly along the east coast if we do see anything coming in off the North Sea. So that's what's kind of happening here, and that's why those temperatures are not responding. So it's little things like that we have to keep an eye on as well into the longer range. Now, if we finish by looking at the ECMWF, again, a northwesterly wind coming in, pretty potent, cold northerly by the middle of the week. And again, we see what happens with the high pressure toppling in with slightly milder air. But then look at that, there's a big temperature contrast, some very cold air to our east, some mild air to our west, and the ECMWF doesn't quite know which one's going to push in. But eventually, look at this, a Scandinavian high building in, and we start to see easterly winds. There will be big excitement for this in the middle of winter, as this could be very cold indeed. But since the last week of April, it's likely to be chilly, but nothing particularly crazy. You see the air mass there is down to the -5 region, and we would likely see those temperatures really struggling around the 10 degree mark or so. Easterly wind dragging in showers as well, so yeah, would be cold. Again, the air masses don't look ridiculous, but it definitely would be pretty chilly indeed. Now, if you finish by looking at the ensembles, we can see this well exemplified. This is the midday run. It's not fully come out yet, but it goes out to the 27th of April, so 2 weeks, which is, of course, not the whole range. We've got another couple of days in there, but it does show us what is really going to be happening. Temperatures dropping substantially in the next 12 hours to below average for tomorrow. Monday, we see another step down towards the -5 area, and it kind of stays there through towards Wednesday and Thursday. And that's why It's going to be pretty potent cold in some places through the middle of the week with frost, especially for northern areas. But as we saw into Thursday morning, could be pretty widespread. Precipitation is still fairly minimal. Showers will be around, especially further northwards, but still fairly minimal as we still have generally high pressure around. Then you can see a slight uptick in those temperatures back towards average, but most are still keeping us average to below average by next weekend. And then we start to see a little bit more of a drop off into the following week as we could see a resurgence of those northerlies or northeasterlies. I'd definitely say out toward the 20th to 21st of April, that looks fairly locked in at the moment. Beyond that, even though it is showing still substantially below average, we could see a big shift there depending on the exact orientation of the high. We saw how close milder air masses were to us in some of those operational runs. Very small differences, maybe 100 miles or so difference between the -5 and the +5 isotherms. So a very subtle difference in those long range charts. We could see a huge shift in these ensemble lines. So I wouldn't take those as gospel as definitely being below average, but that is probably the most likely scenario at this stage, but it could change, which is why I'm saying there's a little bit of hope into that final week of April. Things could improve if that high pressure builds with a slightly better orientation. We'll have to see, but at the time being, all we can say is it's looking fairly dry, but pretty cold indeed, with below average temperatures looking likely to dominate the next week, perhaps even the next 2 weeks. If you look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see a big drop this week, maybe 8 or 9 degrees at best, a couple of days this week. And remember, we're looking at London here. Further northwards, it'll be even colder. Temperatures could rise back towards maybe the low to mid-teens by next weekend, 14, 15 degrees, but still being chilly with a northerly wind. And then we see a slight drop again, but there's quite a bit more spread there as we do have some milder runs and of course some cold runs. Of course, as we are heading towards summer, we are going to see an upwards trend. It doesn't matter what the air mass is, we are going to be seeing an upwards trend, and that's probably why those final days of April don't look all too cold at the 2 meter temperature level. They're looking sort of 12 or 13 degrees, which is going to be quite a bit milder than next week, but we've still got pretty cold upper air temperatures. And the reason really is that's just the sun strength and those air masses running out of juice. That's why, regardless of the synoptics, it will slowly turn milder. It's inevitable, but it's just how slowly will it be. Now, after you finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, we'll have a look at the midnight run. You can see it's broadly similar. Big drop this week in about 5 to 7 degrees below average by Wednesday, Thursday. A bit of an uptick into the weekend, but still keeping us below average for the majority of runs, and then keeping us well below average until the end of April, really. Yes, some warm runs, and that does give some hope, but you can see the majority keep us around 0 to -5, some even getting down to -6 or -7, which would be pretty chilly indeed. And of course, if we have a look at Glasgow, for example, which is going to be closer to these colder air masses, you can see even though the average line is lower here, you can see the absolute temperatures are even colder, down towards -8 or -9 from some of the runs. So you can see, actually, relative to average, parts of Scotland are actually going to be closer to average than areas further southwards, even though in absolute temperatures it is going to be colder. So you can see it is cold further northwards, but compared to average, it's actually the anomaly is slightly stronger further southwards, as we are going to see these potent air masses moving in. So it is going to be chilly over the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, if you have got the shorts and the t-shirts out today, you might have to put them away for the next week or two. Hopefully things do look better in the next few days for the end of April, but for the time being, all I can really say is it's going to remain fairly dry, but it is going to be turning pretty chilly indeed. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.